Hello and welcome everyone for another engaging episode here at CIO Talk with Riaz. This is Riaz Yusuf. I'm a Chief Information Officer and your host. I am super excited to interview our guest with us today, Vikram Paramasivan. Vikram, I would like to welcome you to the stage. Vikram and I were actually panelists in an event recently. Since then, we became good friends, and I'm super excited and looking forward to the discussion with Vikram today. Without further ado, I'd like to bring Vikram to the stage. Welcome, Vikram. Thanks for joining us today. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the benefit of my audience?
Yeah, thanks, Priyas, and thanks for welcoming me into your podcast. So, a brief intro about myself. I've been in the tech industry now for approximately 25 years, give or take 1 or 2 years. Um, and most of it, like 15 plus years, I've been at Microsoft. And prior to that, again, a few Fortune 500 companies on the technology side of stuff. My experience, I think most people in the technology world started as a developer, but then moved into an architect and then into program management and product management. Uh, the last few years, I've been more focused on the product management side of the world, and a couple of major themes which I have been responsible at Microsoft has been one around AI. The second thing is focusing on innovation, but across platform, across Microsoft. One of the earlier guys within Microsoft, this is about 7, 8 years being involved in the AI platform, computer vision capabilities, and everything. So most recently, less than a year, I've been involved in what we call digital natives, which is basically companies which have never had on-premise experience. They're just born out of cloud, whichever cloud. And the way these companies, they think about developing, even providing technology services or other things is slightly different from how it has been. So how do we actually, grow and provide platforms which would be actually much more suitable? A key thing is, we have seen the IT part of the thing change as we move into the cloud environment. Teams have been like getting smaller, doing different things and everything. And you go to an what we call is digital native thing, it is still more dramatic. We have 25, 30,000 user bases which have one or two IT people. And they wear multiple hats and they do multiple things. So a very interesting space, and I think this is where AI and at least Microsoft philosophy, AI is going to help on productivity, is going to be more effective. So when I had this chance to take this role, I moved into it. One bit of thing before I think we actually move forward, I want to say I'm here as Riaz's friend and presenting myself. And these are my views, whatever I share, nothing to do with Microsoft. I might pick and choose some of the public statements of Microsoft, but these are my personal views.
Perfect, Vikram. Yeah, I always would like to call out the same thing for myself too. I work for Harper, but my statements represent my personal opinions, not necessarily my employer's opinion. That's great. You mentioned about digital native. Could you expand on that? What do you mean by digital native?
So these are companies which entirely live on the cloud, whether they're using for the development thing or productivity. So if you take whether it is Azure, Google Cloud, or AWS, they develop all their stuff on that. And when it comes to productivity also, people are familiar with Microsoft Office, but these are companies which are saying, I just want the web view of that, and I want to write my queries or, you know, do my presentations or do my calculations and all that just from that. I don't want anything on the desktop or laptop which you have to be the one in which I have to rely upon. So these are companies which are thinking like, I want to be the most productive. I want to get 99 cents out of the dollar, not lesser than that for whatever I pay. So very highly, like they are super focused because might be, I've seen different types of companies, and it might be because of the margins are becoming smaller. And so when the margins become smaller, they need to be even more cost effective. So your cost has to be lower. And these are companies which are looking for ways how they can actually do that.
I see. So when you say digital natives, you are actually referring to uh, the culture in the company, the companies that are motivated to do more of this.
Yeah, it is the culture in the company, which is one part of the story. The other thing is these are companies which are really adapted to the cloud world as infrastructure. So, infrastructure as a service is the underlying foundation for these companies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they,
that's picking up too, right? Software
yeah,
as a service has picked up years ago, but infrastructure as a service, platform as a service
yep.
are the things that are picking up now more and more. Great, thank you for expanding on that, Vikram. So let's talk about AI, artificial intelligence. So there are so many advancements that we are seeing in the recent past with artificial intelligence. First off, would you like to share your predictions with regards to where artificial intelligence is going to go next? What's going to happen next with AI?
Yep, sure. Before we look forward, I think we need to look a little back. You know, uh, AI is not new. There has been this AI hype, I think about 7, 8 years back also. AI, actually when those predictions they came in, like by this time, like a lot of jobs should have been lost because of AI, because what we are people are stating now, they even stated that 6, 7 years back, AI is going to replace everything. And so, but if we take even a step back, when we talk about models, and when we talk about what is underneath these models, we are talking about statistics and basic mathematics. What has really happened is, again, what we have seen in the internet side of the world is machines are becoming more powerful. Like we have, I remember about 23 years back when I was working in Sprint, getting a laptop with a 1 GB hard disk was the largest hard disk you can get on a laptop. Right? But things have changed. And as things have changed, like, people have, we are able to calculate faster, we are able to calculate much more complex stuff. So, AI is not a new phenomenon. It's been there for long. Like when I started 25 years back at Indian Statistical Institute, I wrote programs which were on statistical model on a DOS. I don't know many people even know what is DOS right now, but we did that. So things have been changing. And what has happened now with LLM models is it has reached a critical inflection point. That is what has happened. This has now raised the thing, I can go and understand a story, or I can create an image by myself. I don't need to be an artist. That is what has happened. So, you know, from my perspective, it is basically this inflection point is going to actually increase productivity of people. Now, again, we must go back to the history of mankind and we have to see how did we actually become an industrialized society? Not that we were not, there were no clothes, but just taking the example of clothes, people were weavers. Weavers were weaving the clothes, and it was difficult to do. Then these machines they came and they made it. So did it actually you know make weavers go away? No, it transformed them. Some became specialists in something, some became designers, some became machine operators. The same concept goes on. And I think AI will take the same journey for human mankind. Of course, there's a lot of huge influencers who have certain standpoints and everything. There needs to be regulation. Everything needs regulation at some point. When missionary came, there was no regulations, but they started building. But if, without that human being there, missions cannot do their work. At the end, going back to the fundamentals of what computer is, you what you give is what you get.
Right.
And create. Man is the creator of these things. So, from my standpoint, it is going to start making people more productive. It is going to provide more knowledge to do what knowledge is going to become more accessible. It is, if I have to revisit one of the terms, a famous term like Satya Nadella uses, democratizing technology. That is what AI is going to do for our future. It is not going to be, oh, I know to code, oh, I know to use the computer. It is how the mobile world has changed how people interact.
Yes.
It is going to do the same thing. Oh, I don't need to be the specialist, but I have something in my mind, I can try to do that. And I can leverage that. That is what AI future is going to be. And that's my perspective.
I think you are spot on. There is no replacement to the human brain, as you indicated. But we just have to evolve into doing something else. You gave the example of industrial revolution, which is a wonderful example. So the technology has always been evolving as centuries, even not even decades, even centuries. And we have it doesn't eliminate the need for humans. In fact, while the technology is evolving, the human population is increasing and increasing day by day, and we still are using the human brains. We still need human brains to be the foundation of everything. So, but speaking of how AI or technology in general changes things, what do you think will be the evolution in IT roles? Do you think developers will be needed in the future? As an example, what kind of evolution do you foresee with the advancement of AI into the IT roles?
Thanks for asking that question, Riaz, because that's one of the things which, I've been following with my friends and my team members and everyone. Uh, today the biggest hype in the AI world is LLM models, right? Uh, whatever version of thing, whether it's a Google Bard or GPT, it's the large language models, right? Um, this is from a technology IT worker perspective, this is going to really make a huge difference because if you trace back the last 15 years or so, there have been a lot of people who have moved into the technology world as a preference. There's and I myself have seen across multiple companies. The ratio model of you can program managers, which is, it depends on which company and which industry you are. It's product management and program management together. You go to NASA, he's the head of everything, a program manager, uh, and the developer and tester. So if you look, like, the test role started getting eliminated as technology was evolving, and they started becoming not tester, they became an extension of development word.
That's right. Yep.
Right. uh, Again, like when I started, like, test was a discipline, a specialized and a very important discipline.
Not
So,
anymore.
yeah. So now if you look like how these are going to change now with with GPT, and I'm sure we have heard, like, the wonderful partnership between OpenAI and Microsoft, and what we call Copilot, which is basically GPT embedded, is there also as part of GitHub. And I think there have been, at least I have read about 4 or 5 studies which actually mentions, like, oh, it increases the productivity of a developer from anything from 40 to 70%. And these are very early stages.
Okay.
The models are still being developed, the data which feeds those models are still getting robust and everything. So things are going to be changing, where it is going to reach a state where, okay, I need to write a function,
Mm-hmm.
I can get that function.
Yeah.
But, I've always stated there's a difference between a developer and a coder. A coder is someone who just writes the code.
Mm.
A developer is someone who thinks what needs to be written in that code. What are the logical sequences? What are the rules? What are the outputs which actually would make sense?
Okay.
And what we have seen, the huge thing which, at least from the technology world, has been, oh, it's very expensive in certain places of the world, for having the number of developers, and in certain world it is not so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So people started saying, oh, I want to cut costs, and everyone wants to cut costs. That's what companies do, for profit companies do, right? Oh, let's try to actually move stuff and get more people working on it. Now, AI is going to change that thing. I don't actually need more people to do us, more developers to actually code. I need smarter area of knowledge developers who would be able to quickly translate what is needed and get it out. Because AI is going to help write that code. It might be 30-40% today, and as the models become robust, it could generate. But again, a big challenge in that is, as companies use these models, our good friends of the hacker world, okay, I can use the same AI to hack into the system, right?
Yes. Yep.
So that's, not to offend anyone when I say smarter, I'm saying, anyone could be smarter. It is how they actually bring that, oh, if I use these models and I generate the code, I can also be impacted.
You might as well hack into the system.
Yeah. AI is going to give you the work where you can be more productive in the IT world, but at the same time, you're going to be able to compromise quite a bit. So that is a huge change which AI is actually going to start bringing. It is about, companies are investing heavily on security, but it is not about a perimeter and how you actually also, ensure the code which you have written, which could be auto-generated. How are you going to put that firewall to that code becomes very critical. The second thing is, from my perspective, this is going to fundamentally change the product management side of the world. Because, again, let's go back to the industrial revolution stuff and, making clothes. So now you can produce a lot of clothes. So what do they need? They needed more designers, more pattern people. Right? You see that from a technology standpoint, it's a product manager role. As a company, I want, I know I got this problem. I went to solve this problem. Now I want the next problem because I know this problem now is going to be solved for many people, or it might not even be a problem. Right? So companies are going to be looking at, or the roles, even some of the people who are today in development, who are very smart people, instead of just taking in the input, will start thinking, this is a kind of problem. It might, again, going back to that whole development piece of the world, what products can I develop to secure the code within? How can I differentiate the generated code and put the added value into that?
Leveraging AI.
Yeah. So these are going to be, again, there are, I don't know what's a good number, even within Microsoft, it changes. Within other companies, it's totally different. There's been this ratio of 1:8, 1:10, 1:15 kind, because we need so many developers to actually create it. Now that is going to become smaller from 15 to say 7 or 8 because more code can be developed. And the product management is going to be increasing. The output is going to be even more than the 15 developers because of AI with a smaller size. But the work these people are going to do are going to become even more complex because now they have to beat that auto-generated code.
Got it. So, do you think the need for project management is going to increase because of the complexity? Is that what you think is going to drive the need for increased project management?
So, just to be clear, product management part is going to become much more important. If you're looking specifically to the IT role project management, that is also going to be a huge change. Now, this is where, when I mentioned about a program manager in NASA, say who's responsible for moon landing or Mars landing type of missions. I think the project manager role is going to start evolving into that. It's going to become more aligned to that because, there are going to be these smaller niche products or smaller scale products, which is going to get revenue, but it has to be, working together. A great example is for Microsoft itself. Yeah, we have a great partner to OpenAI and GPT, but now we are infusing that into each of the product stack, right? Even Google is trying to do the same thing. Now, all that means okay, I have one thing, but it might actually go. So how do I actually manage that? So again, this is about, the project manager is going to become smarter because now he can get information across all the project. He doesn't, the standard report, project report or weekly report he creates, he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, because the AI can do that going forward.
Yeah. But he still needs to be the focal point to have those discussions to generate that. And now his scope is going to become wider because it's not one or two, you have to deal with 10 or 15.
Essentially, yeah. Essentially, where we need our resources is to tackle the things that AI cannot do, such as the complex program management work, to quote back to your example.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
it's going to be, You actually raised a great point, and it got stuck in my head, which is the population has increased. So we have more people now to really cater to. And
Yeah.
the unique thing about human beings is you can say, you're similar to me or I'm similar to you, but each of us, even within our family, we are individuals with our individual mindset. Some of our mind gets trained because of what we see in our family, our friends, school, work, and everything. But
Mhm.
still, that unique ability is going to still stay. And that means, we can say cohorts of, okay, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, all these people, they're different and everything. But within those cohorts, you're still going to be different. And that means, again, you're going to form different cohorts of people.
Yes.
And that has its own market.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing your perspective, Vikram. That's wonderful. Um, in the past, in one of our conversations, you had mentioned that the industrialized society is going to evolve into, or is already evolving into, a knowledge society. Could
Mhm.
you tell more about that for the benefit of my audience? What do you
Sure.
think?
You know, Actually, this is something which one of I think the most impactful books which I've read in my career. Uh, it, it was actually a compulsory book as part of my PhD, but you know, they gave us actually that book and they told this semester, 6 months, you need to understand and summarize this. Okay, so it's by Daniel Bell, and the book's name is The Coming of Post-Industrial Society. One of the things which Daniel talks was how human mankind has moved into industrial society, and he talks about the concept of post-industrial society. And he actually takes the first country which will actually move into that, and this is a 60 plus years old written book, was like like US will start moving that, and we saw that in early 2000 when most of the factories they moved out. There was not many factories, of course. Factories are again coming back, but his thing was once we hit that end of the industrial state, then we will become what he calls knowledge society. Now, what he means by knowledge, he is, in two aspects. One is basically like people are going to be doing a lot of research and development on all the next set of problems to solve. There's going to be a lot more into that. And the second thing is both the GDP and employment will be focused on or rely mostly on knowledge to actually supplement the first part of
See.
it. And if you're anyone who's done any research, doesn't need to be a researcher, but creating a product or set of code, it's like it's knowledge which actually brings that. Now, I think this is where, as I mentioned earlier, AI is in a critical inflection point currently, is because the part of AI which is now super focused and helping people is the whole knowledge, making the knowledge field available. And that's what, it's called as knowledge society. Because, let's go back to LLM models. What does it do? It curates your list, it automates your task, it tries to go and find out. This is knowledge.
Mm.
This is the world where we are finally democratizing AI. This
Yes.
is not about changing, killing mankind or thing, but making mankind really, use his power through machines to become much more knowledgeable and change that whole society. Again, let's go back just to the mobile world. I recently made a trip to India after several years. And the way they use the payment system, actually here in the US, I still use a card. Sometimes my phone, but everything is UPN based and everything. And this is basically because even a small roadside seller has got this knowledge. Oh, I don't need to have cash in my hand. I just need that UPN code and I can get that money. Right?
Yeah.
Now, with this step of AI, this point of AI, this is going to make it even more, that knowledge become even more accessible. And that was, I think, I don't know if Daniel Bell was a Nostradamus, but I can tell that he predicted this post-industrial society. And this is what is known as knowledge society. It's based on knowledge, you get your work done and you live your life.
Thank you for explaining that. I think we are already seeing that change, right?
Yep.
Change into knowledge society. Beautiful. That's great. So you already touched on your favorite book. I was going to ask you about a business book that you would recommend for my audience. So is that the same book, or do you have
that Daniel Bell's The Coming of Post-Industrial Society, I think, is a great book, which anyone, just not management, but anyone should read, even to get, I'd say, product ideas or development ideas, right? Another book which comes to the top of my mind is Great Minds in Management. This talks about the process of theory development, and talks about various theories behind that. A critical thing, which why I think this book has got a lot of things, is what they talk about image theory. That's one of the many theories. And in image theory, it is more about people make decisions, but that decision doesn't come out of a vacuum. It comes with the cohort of people around them. So if you're taking a decision in your family, you consider your family. Right? So in the image theory, you actually start thinking, okay, what's the image which you're looking at? What is the image which you need to form? And that's how you make decisions. So that's where, a lot of other theories are explained in this book. Great Minds in Management, gives you the aspect about, will help people in management to reflect, what is that actually, how am I actually doing it? Of course, there's a lot of write-up, oh, this is how you do it and everything. Even if you're using somewhat pattern and you're using it, why is it using it? And then it will start reflecting on each, because, I believe strongly everyone is a leader, everyone can be a manager. One big learning in my first semester in my PhD is management is a science, it's not an art. And it is actually, I learned it, and thanks to the great professors in University of Maryland, like they told, it is a psychological study. Because what is management? At the end of the day, it's managing people, which is your thing. That means you
love psychology.
Yeah.
And emotions, right?
Yeah. And that is where this book, like this is one of the other books which I always have. I go and read back and again try to understand when I have something. Okay, what's the theory behind this? What is the pros and cons? How do I modify it to fit this? If this is a theory which actually works for me.
Wonderful. Those are great book recommendations. I'll make sure to put those titles in the show notes for the benefit of audience to easily find those books. Thank you, Vikram. And one last question before I let you go. where can my audience find more about you and get connected with you if they choose to?
I think the best place to find me is currently LinkedIn. I have I've not started anything, but I'm also super interested in climate-based technology. I think that's very much needed, and with what I'm calling knowledge society, which is getting formulated, I think that could actually play a huge role. So nextclimb.com is where I'm starting to put my thoughts about, how does this AI revolution actually support climate changes. So that's another area where you can actually try to find. It might be just a homepage which is there right now.
Are you working on a homepage, or do you
I'm working
have...
on the homepage, but um, I can add my email address. That's where I'm having most of my conversations or chats. But otherwise, LinkedIn would be another area.
Okay, sounds good. I'll make sure to put your LinkedIn profile link in the show notes as well. And in the future, once you have your homepage up and ready, shoot me an email. I'm happy to go back to the show notes and update it, the link.
Yep, I appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vikram. This has been an enlightening conversation. I really enjoyed listening to your perspective, which makes most sense in terms of what's coming next and how the things are evolving so far. There is no dull moment in IT, right? It's constantly evolving and things change every second almost, I feel like.
Yep.
So thank you for sharing your perspectives and knowledge. I really appreciate it. And I hope my audience also enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, talk to you. I'll stay in touch with you in the near future, and best of luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much, Vikram.
Yeah, thanks Riaz for having me. It was great talking to you. And if there is anything else, like anyone of your audience would be interested, they could reach me out in LinkedIn. And of course, I know that there is some limit in LinkedIn. I've not reached that limit, so.
Absolutely, I'm sure some of my audience will be interested in the topics that you touched on, the climate change, AI, and stuff like that. So don't be surprised if you get some pings through LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.